Welcome back, CEDIA 2020. Thanks for joining us here at the Modus VR booth. This is our last and final demo for the day. We hope you've enjoyed what we've brought to the table today. The last demo is going to be in a residential room. This is actually more of a living room, so not a ton of AV, but just showing some of the potentials of how we can build out just about any space your heart's desire in Modus. There is a little bit of technology going in. There's television and some in-wall in-ceiling speakers, but this is a pretty fun room. There's a little bit more detail going on. So we will get right into this. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, what we're doing is a start-to-finish process of building a space out in Modus. So this would be from start to finish, basically creating the space, building it out in VR, and then creating all of the deliverables for your customer. So what we do to start off is load up our launcher, and this is the part of our software where you actually do the creation portion of the room. And so to do this, what we're going to do is I'm going to go up here and click Create a Space. I'm going to click this, and we've got some floor plans already generated here, so we're going to call this the green room. It's a green living room. And we have a couple options of simple versus complex spaces here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and click the empty space. It's complex. Let me just check the ceiling height of this room real quickly here. So we are on number 8, so 9 feet. So first thing we want to do is pull up our reference images, and this is a new feature in Modus VR. We revamped the whole entire launcher software to include some really useful features, a few that we'll show you toward the end of the demo, but this one right here is big. Being able to come in here and pull up a floor plan was not possible prior to June of this year, so I believe we're on room 8. So this room here, you'll see we have some stairs, it's a little bathroom, but this is actually the room that we really want to focus on. That's 24 feet 8 inches by 26 feet. And so what we do is we'll calibrate the image by finding the longest known length, and that particular one is going to be right here. And I'll just draw a straight line across the room like so. Click there, click here, and just put in that that's a 26 foot wall. Hit accept, and that's going to scale and rotate the image. So if for some reason I calibrated it like this, it would actually rotate the image 45 degrees. So you can actually change the transparency here as well, so sometimes you have some darker or lighter images. But once you have the calibration done, let me just recalibrate that one more time just to make sure I've got it right. There, to there, 26 feet. So once you've got your image calibrated, we can pop back into here. We can change our snapping, put that to 1 inch, make it nice and accurate, and just start adding walls. It's really straightforward. So this room is pretty darn close to a square, but all I want to do is just drag out these 4 walls real quickly. We're not super concerned with the bathroom or anything else at this point in this particular design, so we'll just draw the box that we have. And then we just want to validate all of our dimensions here. So we know that the room is supposed to be 26 feet long. So right now I'm off by 6 inches, and it looks like I'm pretty far outside there. So an inch on that side, inch there, 26 feet, cool. All of our corners are square. And we want this to be 24 feet 1 inch. So one thing I can do is I can actually select the wall, and I can actually just tell it I know that this is 24 feet 8 inches, and it'll suck that wall right into where it belongs. So there's our dimensions. So we got a room that's 26 by 24 feet 8. So at this point, all I have to do now is just save the room and then send it into VR. And so I've got Scott and Ken standing by in VR. Guys, can you hear me over there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I had to pull out my earpiece. Sorry. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So the next step of this is going to all happen in VR, and so the magic of VR really the magic of Modus VR happens in VR. Hence why we call it Modus VR. So let's just pull up our VR view, see if I can see you guys here. There we are. All right. So you guys are on screen now. Go ahead and take it away and just show everybody what happens after we draw the shape of the room.
Okay. So this is Ken in green,
and this is Scott in blue.
And Patrick, we're having a little hard time hearing you, so if you have questions for us, just speak a little slowly and loudly for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think I was getting an echo in my earpiece, but I think it's better. Is that better now? Can you hear me better?
That's a lot better.
Yeah. Lots better.
Yeah, as long as I'm not getting that feedback loop, we're good. All right. So go ahead.
Yep.
Explain what's going on. How did you guys decide what to divvy up? So typically we don't have 2 people, but for the sake of time, we wanted to have 2 people doing the build. And let me start a timer, even though you guys are already going.
Yep, we're going to win the race.
Yeah, you're definitely going to win the race. All right, so what are you guys up to? What's the plan for the room?
Yeah, so this is just a simple kind of media all-purpose entertainment room. We're going to have like a foosball table in here. Really, in this particular case, the client wanted something that performs well, but not at the level that you might find with a dedicated system. So we're going to do our best to hook them up with something that performs well and looks nice. So for part of that, we're going to be doing some in-wall speakers, for example, and just a nice TV.
So I'm actually going to watch what Scott's up to here, because this is outside of the box thinking, but he's going to create some wainscoting for the room that'll go all the way around the perimeter. No pressure, Scott, no pressure.
I'm going to try to create it.
I've seen you do this, and I was blown away by how fast you're able to actually put it together. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I like that accent wall. It's a cool feature. It's a beauty.
Yeah, that's kind of the nice part about Modus is the cost of change is so small that it encourages creative thinking and brainstorming. And so a lot of times you might have an idea that if you had to draw it out on paper or take the time to type it up in an email, it would be a little bit too tedious to even bother. But with Modus, since it's so fast and easy, it just encourages creative thinking. And so you can kind of try different ideas. We think a lot of, when we talk about Modus, a lot of times we talk about it in terms of something like a Word document where you can try out one plan, build it out, and then save a copy, make some other changes, save a copy, and make some other changes. So the end result is much like providing multiple proposals, but instead they're multiple designs that are far more interesting to look at than a stack of papers.
Definitely. And do we know what the client's goals were with this room? We said it's kind of a living room / family room kind of a setup?
Yeah. So pretty common, right? Husband wants something that sounds and looks as good as possible, and the spouse just doesn't want it to look ugly or break the bank. And so we're going to do our best to make that happen. In this particular case, we're just doing generic in-wall speakers to get the point across. I mean, obviously, it could be any particular brand, so there's a lot of room for different budget needs to be met there. But we wanted to keep the room open, kind of friendly to visitors and socializing as well. So we're not even likely to have a seat that's centered on the screen. This is going to be more for gathering together for the big game, having a good time like that, hosting small parties.
Mm-hmm. And so Scott looks like he's wrapped up with the trim around the room. Looks like he's just making some fine-tuned adjustments. Looks good. And Ken's putting in some nice gray couches, fabric-based couches. So a lot of the rooms we do are so leathery. I love the fact that we've got some different textures to work with.
Yeah.
And so Ken is actually working on the control surface here, which allows him to select all the gear. This is something I haven't really done a good job of highlighting, but basically all the objects that he's pulling into Modus are coming right out of that little tablet that he's got there. And so he's got all of his different textures, variations of the materials, color, etc. So as you can see, it's quick and easy. I mean, these guys have put this room together. Now granted, they got a little bit of a head start on the timer, but right now we're looking at about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So I would say you're well under 5 minutes right now, and the room is just about there.
We're almost there.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's looking good. Scott's going to throw in some lights, and Ken's going to put some interesting... I like the green. Stay with the green. Yeah, that's good.
It's kind of bright.
It's
but
It's
we'll
one of those
stick with
rooms.
it.
It's one of those rooms. I think we should look at adopting maybe a zebra print next. Fan on the ceiling. Very cool.
Yeah, you can delete those lights if you'd like.
No, I love it.
Great.
We'll have this fan right here.
And so the nice thing about this is we can create a replication of a room, an existing space, or we can brainstorm ideas for a space that hasn't been built yet. And so Ken, the beauty of this is obviously it doesn't cost anything to try things out in Modus, right? We can place things and possibly come up with bad ideas. Hopefully, at the end of the day, come up with a really good idea so that we come up with something that is good both from a design perspective and from a performance perspective, right?
Exactly.
Little plants in the corner.
And so we like to think of Modus in kind of two parts. We have the design and build part and the presentation part. And so what we've been showing so far is the design and build part. And typically your clients aren't in VR with you when this is happening. I mean, they could, but typically, this is where you're exploring the space, coming up with a solution before you then present. Then on the presentation side, we've got a whole host of ways that you could potentially present to a client. So
we're just going to sit in this green chair. How's that?
Yeah, go for it. In an ideal world, you would be able to bring a client into your showroom and have them put on a headset, but that's not always practical. It's not always even possible, especially with the pandemic. And so there's other ways that you can give a similar experience. So for example, what we're doing right now is we're live streaming a session. And so I can have this design already made, maybe even multiple variations of this design, and I can bring them up for presentation to the client. And as an integrator, this is my opportunity to shine. This is when I show, hey, I'm going to demonstrate to you that I heard what you wanted. I heard your objectives, I heard your budget, and this is our solution for that. But maybe we also have some other ideas that we want to present to, and we can bring those up. And that's all part of the presentation phase. But our job here is to inform you, educate you, get you to make decisions, and of course impress you, because we want you to be a lifelong customer of ours. And so our goal is to give you this wonderful experience, but it's also real time, right? So as a client, when you have questions, you say, well, that's a 75-inch TV. What would an 85 look like? We can very quickly show you the difference. So
Nice.
This is the cost difference, but the experience is so great. And they say, well, what about a projector? And we can say, well,
where are you going to put it?
Room,
with the fan?
Yeah, where are you going to put it? We've got a ceiling fan. We've got windows, but you can walk them through those challenges. Anyway, but if even streaming isn't an option, we also have a bunch of other deliverables that you can bring out of the Modus ecosystem. And that's where it becomes really powerful, because you're able to generate these things so fast, whereas in a more traditional workflow, the cost of generating renders, the cost of doing these things is so high that typically they get reserved for only the high budget, high-end projects. And Modus changes all of that, so you can give an incredible experience to every single one of your clients. And it completely changes the way you use renders, because now you can even have them as part of your initial proposal process when you're just trying to bid a job. Maybe you're competing against other people, but having the ability to create these things and show them quickly at any stage of the project for any budget it completely changes things for the integrator.
Definitely. So you showed different screen sizes. Can we show a couple different types of content on the screen as well? Like maybe
Sure
235
yeah.
versus, or maybe what some sports would look like on there?
Yeah, so sports are always a fun one, right? Basketball, football. Really the goal here is when you're presenting, you're not just slapping down a stack of papers, because when you do that, the client focuses on one thing, the dollar, right? Which has to be a discussion, but they forget about what it is that they're buying. They forget that end experience. When you can present this, they start thinking about March Madness. They start thinking about their buddies, right? Well, my best friend's going to be right there. I'm going to be right there. And you're bringing that in. But also, this is a great opportunity to educate them, right? If you start showing them movie clips, for example, and they say, oh, you know what? Those black bars, is there anything we can do about that? Well, maybe. If we can figure out a projector solution, perhaps we could. But again, it's all about showing them what they're going to get so that their expectations are aligned with the reality you're going to deliver for them. And sometimes that means compromises have to be made, and that's okay as long as they understand those compromises going into the project rather than discovering them the night of the big game.
Yeah, it looks like this room is pretty well built out. I think Scott jumped out because he was all done with his side of the work. We didn't have a chance to say farewell to him, but thank you, Scott, for helping out. Should we move on to deliverables now? Are we pretty well set?
Yeah, let's hand it back to you, Patrick, so you can do some photos and line drawings.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and do it. So to get the photos and line drawings, that actually doesn't happen in VR. So total time spent in VR, I'd say we were at about maybe 10 to 15 minutes max. Now obviously we had two people building out the room, but we're going to jump back over here to the launcher. So once we're in the launcher, you'll see we've got some options here. So this is the space that we just saved. So space number 8. You can see here's a screenshot of the room, a little thumbnail of it just for reference. There's actually Ken in the thumbnail. It's kind of cute. And so here we've got 4 options. So opening it in VR, we don't need to do that. We just finished up that process. Opening it in Modus Photo is the last thing I'm going to show you. Editing the floor plan is actually the first thing we showed you, and that's where you set the dimensions of the room. And lastly here is creating the line drawings. Now the nice thing about creating line drawings is that we automatically generate both a floor plan and a reflected ceiling plan for you. So you have all those right here. You can come in, and then we can add additional views as well. And so to do that, we just click the camera here, and we'll just grab one that's the screen wall elevation. And all I have to do is just drag this little box over here, and then if I hold Control, oh, this actually is trying to grab there. I'll do it like that, and then flip it. What it's going to do is it's actually going to resize to the extremities of the wall that you are closest to. So there's that entire section. You can see a little preview of it here. I think we had some speakers on the side walls as well. So I'm just going to hit Alt, which will give me a second one. Actually wasn't paying close attention to where all the speakers ended up. Doesn't look like we have them on the side walls, but we'll grab the elevations of all the walls just to be nice and thorough. Because what this is going to actually do is actually going to take everything and output it to a PDF so that we can just send off our client with all of the elevations of the room that we felt were important, completely annotated as well. And so one thing I'm actually going to do on this rear wall is I'm going to try and capture the foosball table but exclude those 2 chairs. So those views look pretty good to me. So bar stools are there, foosball. If I wanted to include those 2 chairs, I could simply just draw this cut section back a little bit farther, and you'll see those pop up there. And maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you want to have both of those views, so we can actually do rear wall with and without chairs. You're definitely going to want to label these, so window, wall, elevation, because all these labels will pop up in the export document. We'll call this is the screen left wall, and rear wall with chairs, and rear wall, excuse my clicky keyboard. Alright, cool. So once we've got our views set, we can come in here and do some annotation, and this is where this becomes extremely powerful. Before we were able to deliver these line drawings, but now we're actually able to go in here and take and do things like annotate out the dimensionality of everything. So maybe one of the important factors was how far from the screen wall are our viewing spots. So this is something that we can come in here, and from these chairs we'll see we've got nice viewing angles there. Perhaps we want to also just lay out where those chairs are actually located in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and draw an angle from here to the couch, from the wall to the couch. So it's 5 feet 4, and from the side wall to the couch as well. So just kind of call these things out. And you can add as little or as much dimensionality as you want to these drawings. It's entirely up to you to decide what's important. But let's just say, for instance, we want to use this as a document for reference for our installers. So we've got our 3 in-wall speakers mounted here, here, and here. And we want to make sure that we know that they are 1 foot 2 inch from the wainscoting, and perhaps we want to say it's 1 foot out from this wall that the television is built on. Obviously they want them to be symmetrical, but we'll just call these out on both sides just to make sure that they're fully aware. Maybe we want to also pull this height here, 4 inches. Oops. Come on. Pull that over, as well as the mounted height of the television off the wall, or off of the wainscoting. So these are the important factors that we want to make sure we're highlighting, obviously adding some dimensionality. Perhaps we want to also label some things, so we can come in here, get nice and close and say this is a left speaker. And you can resize this box appropriately, something like that. So you can go in here and you can add notes and dimensions to the drawing. All of this is based on the objects that you've populated in from Modus. So I'm going to click Save, and now we're going to go to Generate Drawings. And this is the green living room project. Down here we can put in some information. CEDIA 2020 is the company, and you can add different phone numbers, etc. This is all set up when you first set up the software, but you can change this on the fly as well if you wanted to put something custom in for each job. Once you click Generate Drawings, it's going to go in here and create a PDF, and from this I'll go to our PDF viewer so you can see the final product. So here is the marked up drawing, so you can see these sight lines were pulled out, 14, 11 to those 2 chairs, the distance for the couch from the walls, etc. All these views that we just set up, all showing in here. So maybe if we had in-ceiling speakers, we wanted to call that out with dimensionality, we can do that as well. So here are those views of the front wall. I'll just zoom in on this a little bit. Zoom. There we go. So you can see that everything's been called out. So perhaps you want to use this with your installation team so they have reference documents, or maybe you're using a general contractor for placement of the wiring and cutting the holes for your speakers. So depending on your use case, the two-dimensional drawings, the line drawings that we're able to generate here can be extremely powerful. But outside of those, what's really important is what your customer wants. And customers don't get super excited about black and white drawings. Most of them don't really understand construction drawings. I personally don't even understand construction drawings. But what I do understand and what translates really well are high-resolution photos. So Modus Photo is a new product that we launched in June. It allows us to take high-resolution screen captures of the rooms that we just built in VR, and it's a companion application to Modus VR. And so I'm loading it up here, and now you'll see this looks a lot like the Modus VR that we just had. The big difference is that the lighting is quite a bit different. And so that was why it was critical that the guys got all these light fixtures onto the ceiling, and you'll see why in just a moment here. And this is a really good one because we've got 3 different styles of lights in this room. So I'm going to move back to this back corner here and just get a nice wide angle. I'm actually going to go ahead and adjust our zoom to get a bit wider of an angle too. And then if I go in here, you'll actually be able to see that I can come in and I can just turn off all the lights in the room. I can fine-tune each individual type of light. So the shades are lowering here. We'll actually lower those about halfway. Let me stop them right about there. And then, as you can see, we can actually turn up and down each zone of lighting independent of one another. So when we were in VR, all these zones of lighting were based on one single slider. Whereas in Modus Photo, we now have the ability to really come in here and fine-tune what this looks like. And the result of this is going to be a much more high-resolution, high-performance render. The beauty of these renders is that the time it takes us to go from VR to the deliverable render is minutes. Depending on your workflow, you can get this down to a science and crank these things out real quick. I keep messing with the shades on accident. So we'll put these up. I want to get a nice bit of light in the room, and then find a nice angle. And let's throw some content on the screen as well. Do the football game. Oh wait, we were doing a basketball game, right? This is a March Madness situation. So there we go. Capture a nice shot of that. And maybe the foosball table is actually an important element, so we can come in here and get a nice look. You can actually adjust the focal length of the camera too, so you can notice that the field of view changes here, and we can blur things that are less important or get everything in a nice crisp high definition. So once I'm ready and I'm happy with the angle of the room that we're capturing, I can go ahead and just press enter, and that'll generate a quick screenshot. You'll see down in the bottom left corner there is a thumbnail of that shot. And then we'll just come around here and grab a shot of the room from this angle as well. Maybe do a little adjusting on the lights. Let's open the windows all the way up. Can make it brighter in here. Maybe we don't want the hanging lights and the wall sconces quite so bright. Alright, so we'll grab another shot of the room from over here. Alright, so those are our high-resolution 2D renders, and the beauty of that was how fast that happened. Typically speaking, something like this would take days, if not longer, to get generated, because in most cases you're either hiring someone out to do your renders, or if you have someone in-house, it's just a matter of getting it scheduled. And if you've got one person just cranking out renders, it's still not real possible to create renders this fast using something like SketchUp or Revit as quickly as we just did. The other majorly powerful thing that we're adding to Modus very soon, so what you're seeing right now is going to be a preview of Modus 360. So you'll notice on the top right corner there, I've got the option to make 360. And so all I need to do is just basically find a nice spot in the room that doesn't have to be centered necessarily, but this is going to be the point of reference for the 360 shot. Get all of our lights set, so maybe we'll adjust things down, make those a little brighter, make those wall sconces nice and bright. And let's put a little bit different content on the screen as well. Let's put some Star Wars up there. Find a nice scene. There we go. Perfect. All right. So once we're happy with the look of the room, take a quick look around, hit Control and Enter, and it opens up this mode, which just takes a quick shot of the room. So now what's happened is it's exported back to our launcher. So I'll just kind of tab back over here to my launcher, and you'll see here I now have, here's the thumbnail, and an embedded URL. The beauty of this URL, I'm going to post this into chat, is that that URL right there could be seen by anybody on any device. So this doesn't require VR. It doesn't require a high-performance computer. It can be loaded up by a cellular device. It could be on a tablet. It could be on anything your heart's desire, as long as it has access to a web browser and the internet. And so this gives us a way to deliver an immersive 360-degree capture of the room that you've created in VR for your customer to take and show to their friends. And that normally generates referrals for us. And that's the beauty of all of this, is that not only are you designing and selling, but it's also generating an experience that's one of a kind, and your customers will talk about that. And so the great thing here is that, everybody loves referrals. It's not a bad thing to have somebody really excited about what they just saw in your showroom, or what you just presented to them even in Zoom. Like Ken said earlier, we have a lot of ways to consume the assets that we've created, and Zoom has been an incredibly powerful tool for everyone, both for education, but we've also utilized that tool for presenting Modus VR to people without having to actually make contact. So thanks for joining us for the demo. We're about 25 minutes in. So in 25 minutes, we've showed you how to create a room, how to create incredibly useful detailed images and exported documentation for a customer, and the power of Modus for building rooms. Throughout the day, we've created a total of 8 rooms today. Those should all be posted in the CEDIA chat, so have a look at them if you weren't able to join us for any of our earlier sessions. Tomorrow we'll be back doing all new rooms, so if you missed something or you had questions you wanted to visit and recap anything with us, please do stop by. We're here with chat for the rest of the shows for around another 30 minutes, but this will be the last demo of the day. But we're happy to answer questions in chat, or as we said earlier, grab that contact form and reach out to us. We're happy to talk through how Modus might work in your business, and we appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for joining us at CEDIA 2020. We're Modus VR. Have a good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are.